Verse 12. Ashapashashte Buddha Kama Krodaya Parayana Ihante Kama Bhogartam Anyayina Tashmamayachan. Bound by hundreds of ties of desires, given over to lust and anger, they strive to amass hordes of wealth by unjust means for the gratification of their desires. They are bound by hundred of ties of desires. They are tied to bondages. Given over to lust and anger, they strive to amass hordes of wealth by unjust means for the gratification of their desires. The word ihante means to strive. This is what asura demons are like. They are bound by hundreds of ties to desires. If there is any one thing that makes a person run after useless activities, then it is desire. This is the wish that if it did not happen today, then it will happen tomorrow. This is the wish that if I am not happy today, then I will be happy tomorrow. This is the wish that if I did not get this today, then I will get it tomorrow. This is the attitude of tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. Just like a potter dangles a character and makes a donkey run carrying a big burden, in the same way, by dangling a carrot by the name of desire, a human being makes his own self run carrying a big burden. This is when one thinks that this will happen and that will happen, or now it is certainly going to happen. This is a person who, bound by hundreds of ties to desire, understand that there is no problem in performing activities, but what is the driving force behind performing that activity? What is motivating force behind performing that activity? If a person has some wish or some expectation, then consider that they have a demonic attitude. If a person has only bliss in activity and bliss in action, then this is a divine quality. A divine person also performs activities. A person living a divine life also performs activities, but his activities are not bound by desire. Speakers say very nicely that this desire is such that Asha namamam manushyanam kachit asharaya shankala yaha badha pradva vante mukta tishtanti panguvat. Desire is a surprising type of chain. The people who are tied by this chain run here and there, while people who become free from this chain become steady. A straightforward translation of Shankala from Sanskrit is chain. What you see on the majority of lives is that, for example, if there is an animal such as a horse, then if you tie it up with the chain, then it stands up inside a stable and it cannot go anywhere from that stable. It becomes steady. But once the horse leaves that chain, then it begins running. But the chain by the name of desire is surprising. Why? The person who is tied by that chain runs here and there, but the person who has become free from that chain becomes steady. This is what happens to a person who is tied by desire. In the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavad, it is said that Ashahi paramam dukham nareshayam paramam sukham. Desire is the biggest sorrow of all, and being free from desire is the biggest happiness of all. Nareshaya means a person who is free from desires. Wherever you have kept desires, there you have placed eggs of unhappiness. Whichever places you have placed desires, there are eggs of unhappiness there. If not today, then tomorrow. If not tomorrow, then the year after. The children will hatch from those eggs, and you will have to experience the fruits that are unhappiness. This is because our unhappiness is born from desire, and our unhappiness is born from a wish for happiness. We never open the door for happiness, we open the door for happiness, and unhappiness just comes. Asura demons are like this. They are bound by hundreds of ties of desires. They have many desires. The bigger the desire in life, then the bigger the unhappiness. The bigger the desire that a person has, then the bigger the unhappiness that they will get. If a person has no desires, then they will get small unhappiness, and a person who has no desires, has zero desires, has no bondages at all. What is this solution to become free from these bondages? There is only one solution: becoming dead. The more desires that a person leaves, then the more that person becomes liberated. A person who is dead has no desires. Therefore, when we logically say that when all a person's desires have fallen away, when the person attains death, then can we also say that while the breath of the body are running and all one's desires fall away from the person becomes dead, then he can be liberated? I once gave a very nice example during a discourse in Mumbai. Sufi saints say this story. I like this story very much. There is only one solution to become liberated in this world. Sufi saints say that there was a businessman. There was a bird locked in a cage in the businessman's house. The bird was very nice, and that bird was a foreign bird from another country. It was trapped inside a cage in the businessman's house. The bird knew that it was not from this place, but that it was from another country. It knew that its country was somewhere different. The businessman would keep travelling for his business, and once he was going in the country of this bird, the businessman came to the cage and told the bird that he was going to his country. He asked the bird if he wanted to send any messages. The bird said, just do this. Go to my country, and when you see birds that look like me, then just pass the message that I am here in bondages. The businessman said, fine. He went to the jungle in that country. He saw birds sitting on the trees that looked like the bird that was in the cage. The businessman said to the birds, listen to what I am saying. There is a bird out of you, and that is in bondages with me. As soon as the businessman said this, then the bird sitting on a tree died and fell by the feet of the businessman, banging on the ground. The businessman became very sad and thought that the bird must have been a relative or a dear one of the bird that is in the cage at my house. He must be the bird's father, brother, or someone like that, and he could not bear hearing about the bird's bondage, and that is why he has died. The businessman became very sad as a result of this. He finished his work and went back to his own country. He went to the cage and told the bird that I went to your country, went to the jungle and saw birds like you. As soon as I spoke about you saying that you have been in bondage with my house, then a bird fell from a tree and died. He fell by my feet and attained death. As soon as the businessman said that, this bird fell to the ground. Then at the same time, the bird that was in the cage died and fell to the ground. The businessman's sorrow became double now. When I spoke about this bird in bondage to the other bird, then that bird attained death and saw from the tree. And when I spoke about that bird to this bird here in the cage, then this bird also got that much sadness that it attained death. The businessman got very sad, thinking that the bird had died. There was no meaning in keeping a dead bird in a cage. Therefore the businessman opened the door of the cage with a dead heart, and as soon as he lifted the bird to take it outside, as soon as he put the bird outside the cage, then the bird flapped its wings and flew away, far away into the sky. Sufi saints say this story. I told this story around the year of 1990, when I gave a discourse on the topic of the art of dying while living. I suddenly remembered this event. There is a lot to understand from this event, and from this story, this bird represents us. We are locked inside a cage. We are all foreign birds. This is not our country. We are birds from the Supreme Abode. Sri Krishna said earlier in the Gita that Yad Gatva Nani Vartante Tadama Paramam Mama. This is my supreme abode from which those who reach it never return. This is our supreme abode, that is our true country. The poet Saint Kalas says, Juthe jag mein dil lacha kar asal vatan kya kayo chod diya. Tane ram smaram kar chod diya. By making your heart go after this false world, why have you left your true home? Why have you left the remembrance of Ram? Our true country is our supreme abode. This is our true name, and we are trapped in a cage here. Each and everybody is trapped within their own circumstance and trapped within their own worlds, their family life and their own worlds. Each and every bird is trapped inside a cage, and he experiences death. When the businessman was going to the bird's country, the businessman is liberated, and that is why the businessman can go to the bird's country, whereas the bird is in liberation, and that is why it cannot go there. One who is in bondage can only send messages, he cannot go himself. The bird told the businessman to send the message that it is in bondage, but the bird was very intelligent. Together with the message, it sent its own agony, and to take one's agony to the right person is the work of a very intelligent person. People do not know how to do this in this world. They keep the agony that they have in their heart and try so hard to keep it locked that they become frustrated to the extent that they destroy their own selves. One needs intelligence to tell their agony to the right person. A person should at least empty themselves to some person. This bird has done a very nice work by sending this message. The businessman went to the jungle, and when he saw the birds in the jungle and said that one of you is trapped inside a cage in my house, then the bird that fell, I think that bird must have been a guru of the birds. He was very intelligent. He understood that the reason why this bird is saying that it is in bondage is because the bird wants liberation. Otherwise, why would that bird say that it is in bondage? If you describe your sorrows to someone, then no matter if you don't say it, the fact that you describe them means that you want them to be free from it, and that you wish to become free from it. Only because of that you're describing your sorrows. There is always a reason why a person describes their sorrows. Otherwise, why would they describe their sorrows? This bird only sent one sentence, that it has fallen into bondage, and its guru understood that wish to become liberated. And the Guru sent a message not through words but through behavior and through conduct. The true Gurus in this world send their messages through their conduct. They say, "Look at my life and learn. Do not go to catch my words." Plato says that letters are dead. Through the words of death, experience the message of conduct that was sent. A Guru sends messages through his conduct. The bird died and fell. The businessman could not understand this, and businessman did not know what he was taking back in resulting in him becoming a messenger, and that this message is reaching the other bird through coded words. He came and told this bird in the cage only that when I spoke about you to the other birds, then this bird died and fell. I said from the beginning that this bird was very intelligent, that is why it could understand the message. Immediately as he said this, the bird in the cage understood the message, decoded and codified message, not only decoded the message but immediately put into practice and fell to the floor itself by becoming dead. A Guru's message can only be of help to you when you yourself apply in your conduct what he himself has shown through his conduct. If we see a Guru's conduct and do not apply that conduct in our lives, then that is of no use. One should put into practice themselves. That bird itself fell to the floor as well. There is a reason for keeping alive birds in the cage, but who will keep a dead bird in a cage? When you become dead in the material world, then no desires remain. All these bondages are of wishes that I will get from that person, or some more oil will come out of that barrel. Only when people have these wishes do they hold on to them. When good wishes become released, then they will hold on to them. Now people will try to leave them and say, "Leave them." The bird pretended to be dead, and when the businessman placed the bird outside, the bird had their inborn power to fly. Together with making us born, the Supreme Soul has sent us, having given us a path of liberation. Together with making us born, the Supreme Soul has sent us, given us the power to become liberated. It depends upon it depends upon you to what extent you can use this power. Many people use up their power in just flying around in the cage. You should go into the liberated sky, become free from desires. Becoming free from desires is being dead while living. The majority of people do not like living bondages, and there is a reason for this, that there is one type of security in bondage. The bird that flies in the liberated sky has to search for its own grains, has to search for its nest every day, and has to make its own arrangements itself. The bird trapped in the cage has no worries, because every day someone comes and feeds grains to it. It does not have to look for them itself. And the majority of people in the material world like this security, and that is why they become tied to the bondages of materiality. This is just like if there is a bird, then it likes heat very much. It feels hot and sees a small puddle. The water is dry, and this is the state it is in. It is extremely hot weather, and when it sees a small puddle, the bird goes towards it but cannot drink it properly, and so flaps its wing and hits its beak against the water. It is a very small puddle with very little water. When the bird goes to drink this water, then its wings touch the dirt. When it was flying, then there was a lot of heat, but when the wings touch the mud, then it feels coolness and thinks that this is very good. Then the bird remains there flapping its wings in the mud. The coolness of the mud feels very nice at the beginning, but the heat has the result of which it came to search for happiness in the mud, that the same heat will make the mud dry. The bird's wings are becoming stuck in the mud, and this stuck wing will become the instrument of the end of the bird. Wherever one likes bondages, then these are the difficulties that take place. A person becomes stuck. They become the reason for his downfall, and they stop his development. A person should become free from bondages. An asura is given to the lust and anger. Asura demons are also given over to lust and anger. When there is lust, then anger is going to come. If a person has the nature of becoming angry over and over again, then understand that this is a demonic characteristic, and the more demonic characteristic the person has, then the more rocks they could put on the path of manifesting divine qualities. Divine qualities are asking to become manifest, but when you place rocks before the divine qualities become germinated, then this is not the fault of the seed. An asura demon is given over to lust and anger. God has said a very important thing, that these people strive to amass hordes of wealth by unjust means for the gratification of their desires. They do all of this just to enjoy material objects. They strive to amass hordes of wealth by unjust means. They wish to collect wealth. Over here, Sri Krishna is not trying to say that it is wrong to collect wealth, but what is the reason why these people strive to amass hordes of wealth? What is the goal behind it? Shakracharya ji says that this Rakshas, evil people and Sura demons do not collect wealth in order to make dharmic donations, but in order to enjoy material objects. and for their personal satisfaction. Two types of people collect wealth. A divine person also has wealth, and this is the grace of Mahalakshmi, the goddess of wealth, and an asura who collects wealth. What is the difference? In this verse, God says that there are differences in two ways. First, there is a difference in the cause. The king Raghu also had wealth, and in fact had a mass of wealth. But what did the king Raghu do? Kalidas describes it in the Raghuvansh. Every 10 years, King Raghu would perform a yagna, donating all his wealth, all the wealth that had come to him, and would be given away as a donation every 10 years. King Raghu himself would live in the hut of grass by the river Sarayu, and would eat out of utensils made from mud. Then he would begin collecting wealth once again, fight battles, win victories and collect the wealth. He would collect so much wealth in 10 years that once again after 10 years he would perform a yagna, donating all his wealth. Did the king Raghu collect wealth or not? He did collect wealth. He collected wealth, but he did so in order to help others. He would collect wealth, and so he would support those who were walking on the right path, and so that he would stand next to those who were walking on the right path. And Ravan also collected wealth. He also collected wealth. Therefore, the strive to amass the collection of wealth itself is not wrong. It all depends on the cause of the person who is striving to amass and collect wealth. Asura demons strive to collect wealth in order to enjoy material objects. And second, it depends on the means through which one collects wealth. What is the medium and what is the instrument? This is also important. What is the instrument? When Asura demons collect wealth, they do it through injustice. Sridhar Swami was written in his commentary that a person who collects wealth through theft, violence, treachery, thuggery, or paths not set out in scriptures is an asur demon. This is a person who collects wealth through sin. This is a person for whom money is the only lord, who is the servant to money. This is a demonic attitude. This is a person who wants money and that is it. He does not look at the way in which money is coming. This is demonic attitude. Madhusudan Saraswati writes that despite wealth being earned in many ways, his desires increase upon the attainment of material objects through greed. He used the word sanchayan in the plural. Why is it used in the plural? He says that despite wealth being earned in many ways, is a desired increase upon the attainment of material wealth through greed. A person gets wealth, and these people want wealth for the gratification of their desires. Therefore, they bring objects that give them objective happiness. They enjoy material objects, and when they enjoy material objects, then their desires increase, because one does not get peace after enjoying material objects. In fact, one desires increases, and they therefore try to collect wealth once again. And they therefore run after more desires. They then collect more wealth and run after even more desires. One who has this greed is an asur demon. And the second thing in that, he expects that the pleasure that he has attained today and the delight he got today from that sense organ meeting, the sense object, should come back again after 2 days, should keep coming after 2 years, and that whenever he wishes, then that delight should come. Therefore he begins to strive amass hordes of wealth again and again for this. This is also called greed. By saying the word sanjayan in the plural, this is used to show greed. When one's desire for material objects keep growing and growing despite one attaining a material objects, then this is greed. When one does not obtain objects and has a wish for them, then this is called a wish or a desire at most. But if one attains it and desires for more, then this is called greed. If a person has hunger for 5 chapatis and this person keeps a wish for 5 chapatis, then this cannot be called greed. But if one has to hunger for 5 chapatis, his stomach becomes full, and then he wishes to collect 50 chapatis, then this is called greed. This destroys a person. This is a demonic attitude. God has given a lot of importance about the collection of wealth. Is there a meaning of collecting? Is there a meaning of amassing? We keep collecting and collecting, but just quietly think about whether there is any meaning in collecting. What are you collecting it for? Each and every person who collects thinks that it is here today, but what if it is not here tomorrow? Therefore he keeps arrangements for tomorrow and begins collecting. But will you be there tomorrow? All these things that you have collected will remain there, but will you be there? If there is no guarantee of the person for whom you are collecting wealth, then what is the use of collecting it? The Maharashtra Saint Turkurum says it very nicely that God has 1,000 hands, and that when he sits to give with 1,000 hands, then how much will we collect with our 2 hands? How much power do we have to collect? Everybody likes to read about it here. Khuda jab deta hai to chapar far ke deta hai. When God gives them, he gives breaking our roof. When saints say further that when the same God begins to take everything back with his 1,000 hands, then how much will you keep with your 2 hands? It is as much importance. Have you not seen a well-off person go through ups and downs? A poet writes in very few words. Aise vaise kaise kaise ho gaya. Just like that, how did it happen? And the poet says further, Kaise kaise aise vaise ho gaya. How did I become like I was before? One does not need to live until the age of 70 or 80 for this. When one reaches the ages of 25 or 30, then if they have little understanding, they will see what has happened in their life. Is there any meaning in possessiveness? This world is a merry-go-round. Chakrara pankti riva gachate bhagya pankti. Life is like a merry-go-round. One should enjoy it when it goes down as well as when it goes up. That which one holds on to never remains, and if one has held on to something through injustice, then this certainly does not stay. If a person has collected wealth only for enjoying material pleasures, then this certainly does not stay. If you have kept Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth, as a mother, then Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth, will stay. But Sri Krishna says here that if a person strives to amass hordes of wealth, firstly by unjust means and secondly for the gratification of desires, then they are asura demon. If wealth is collected with these 2 things, either for the gratification of desires or through unjust means, then it will not stay. There is a verse in Sanskrit that says, if wealth has come to one's house through the wrong path, then it stays for 10 years, and then when the 11th year comes, then the wealth begins to go back, just like a tide has come, and when its time finishes, then it begins to go back. To the same way, this wealth begins to go. It does not stay. It is said in the Kathopanishad. Na sampraya pratibhati balam pramadyatam vita mohena muram. Those who have become deluded by wealth and who lack discrimination, they do not get the means to attain the world beyond through wealth. If one thinks that they will attain liberation, if they only get money, then the Upanishads say that this will not happen. It is also said in the Brihayanak Upanishad that Amruta tasya tu na asha asti vitenta. Do not have the hope that you will attain immorality if you only have wealth. You can buy everything else with wealth, but he would not be able to buy liberation with wealth. In fact, there are a lot of things that you cannot buy with wealth. There is a letter in English that I read where it says that with the help of money you can buy objects but not happiness. With the help of money you can buy servants but not relatives. It goes on like this. How much can you do with money? Why does one not have wealth? Then a person thinks that it is very important, but only after it comes then the person knows about its uselessness and how low it is. There is no assurance that wealth will lead to liberation. Siddhartha had trees of wealth flying around, but he left it and became Gautama Buddha without the use of wealth. Mahavir was the son of a king and left the wealth, performed penances, so he became Mahavir without the use of wealth. After wealth comes, then one understands its uselessness. Asura demons are those who do not realize the uselessness of wealth. This is not in opposition to wealth, but this just shows the limits of wealth. And it is said in the economics that there should not be a colonization of wealth, and wealth should not be hoarded in just one place. Because if this happens, then it is a sign of bad economy. Wealth should remain flowing in society. This is a sign of a healthy economy. Asura demons are those people who only hoard wealth. Through what type of thoughts does the desire for wealth and greed become manifest in the minds of demonic people? What thoughts run in the minds of demonic people? This is described in the next verse.